Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something pretty common for English learners, right?
Absolutely, that feeling of being stuck translating in your head.
Exactly. How do you move past that and actually start thinking in English?
It's a huge step. Really feels like unlocking a new level in fluency.
Yeah, it does. And we've gathered some great stuff to look at this. We've got articles on like language shadowing,
Mhm.
a conversation practice guides, some academic takes on why English is, so key these days.
Plus, advice from language experts specifically on this thinking in English thing.
Right, and how to get over that fear of messing up, which is massive.
Huge. And even how you can use AI, like ChatGPT, to
Yeah.
practice. We also have some visual ideas from conversation clubs. Useful stuff.
Definitely. So our goal here, our mission for this deep dive is really to give you practical ways, actual techniques.
And a better sense of why it's so good to think directly in English.
Yeah, and how you can start making that shift, wherever you are in your learning journey right now.
Okay, let's jump in. So this constant translation habit, why is it actually bad? What are the real downsides?
Well, fundamentally, it kind of works against your main goal, doesn't it? Which is speaking fluently, naturally.
Exactly. You're aiming to communicate in English, not just, well, act as a human translation machine. Some sources really hit that point home.
Yeah, that makes sense. You want a conversation, not an interpretation exercise.
Precisely. And all that mental back and forth,
Mhm.
it just kills the natural flow of speech.
Mm.
You're constantly comparing sentence structures, word order, looking for the perfect match. It slows everything down, creates a bottleneck.
And I bet some things just don't translate neatly anyway, right? Like idioms or cultural nuances.
Absolutely. The
Yeah.
resources highlight that.
Yeah.
So many concepts, expressions, they just don't have a clean one-to-one equivalent.
Which must be frustrating.
It is. And it makes you focus too much on single words instead
Yeah.
of the overall meaning. Ultimately, that constant language switching just slows down your journey to real fluency. It's like forcing puzzle pieces together.
Okay, so if that's what we need to avoid, what are the actual upsides? What do we gain by thinking directly in English?
Oh, the benefits are pretty big. The most obvious one, your speech just becomes more natural, more fluent,
Faster responses too, I imagine.
much faster. When you're not doing that translation step, you can react and respond much more spontaneously in a conversation.
That sounds like a huge relief.
It really is. Plus, you start to understand concepts directly in English. No need to pass them through your native language filter first.
So it's more efficient for the brain.
Yeah, much more streamlined. And our sources suggest this direct engagement actually helps you make faster progress overall.
And does it help with listening too, not just speaking?
Definitely. You start building a stronger kind of mental map or model of English, thinking within its own logic.
Okay.
So that improves both your speaking and your listening skills. You begin to sort of anticipate how people will phrase things.
Like getting a feel for the city layout instead of just using GPS turn by turn.
That's a great analogy.
Okay.
Exactly. You develop an intuitive sense of how things connect, the flow, rather than just translating directions.
Okay, this is the key part then. How do we actually do this? How do we train our brains to make that switch? What are the strategies?
Right, the practical stuff.
Yeah.
Our sources have loads of ideas. Let's start with language shadowing.
Okay, shadowing. What is that exactly?
It's basically repeating English audio out loud, trying to match the speaker's timing and intonation as closely as possible, simultaneously.
So like mimicking.
Yeah, a very focused kind of mimicking. It sounds a bit odd, maybe, but it forces you to really listen to the sounds, the rhythm, the melody of English.
Yeah.
It helps build that direct link between your ears and your mouth, pushing you towards a more native-like sound. And one source mentioned walking around while doing it.
Oh, interesting. Why?
It helps you get comfortable speaking while doing something else.
Yeah.
Makes it less like a rigid study exercise, more active.
That's smart. Making it feel more natural, less self-conscious.
Yeah.
And there are stages to shadowing, right?
Yes, typically you start just listening and repeating. Simple repetition. Then you might shadow while reading the English text, so you connect sound to meaning.
Got it.
And the final step is often shadowing with the target language transcript, so you're really understanding directly what you're hearing and saying. The big takeaway, though, is daily practice. Consistency is key for building that mental model.
Makes sense. What about just being around English more? Immersion.
Hugely important.
Yeah.
Another powerful strategy. The resources strongly suggest changing your environment. Simple things, like switching your phone language to English.
Or social media.
Yep. Making to-do lists, grocery lists. Doing those everyday things in English. You can even narrate your day in your head.
Like, okay, now I'm brushing my teeth.
Yeah, okay. I'm making coffee now. Where are my keys? Just creating this sort of internal English monologue.
Building your own little English bubble.
Precisely. And tied into that is self-talk. Actually having little conversations with yourself in English.
Out loud or just in your head.
Either works. The point is it's low pressure, no audience.
Yeah.
You can practice at your own speed. One source said even a few minutes daily for, say, 30 days can make a real difference in just feeling more comfortable.
That seems doable. Okay, what about learning new words? Should we always jump to a bilingual dictionary?
Experts tend to advise against always doing that. Try instead to connect the English word directly to the thing, the action, the idea, like how kids learn.
So visualize it.
Yeah, or even act it out. If you learn the word excited, maybe jump up and down a little. Try to understand definitions in English using an English-only dictionary or explanations.
Avoid the translation step again.
Exactly.
Yes.
Build that direct link. Visual learning is powerful here. Our sources really stress this direct association, bypassing your native language pathways. It taps into how our brains like to remember things, images, feelings, experiences, much more direct than just words.
Okay, so picture it, feel it, link it directly. Got it. And just general exposure helps too, right? Like listening to stuff.
Absolutely critical. Consistent exposure. Audiobooks, podcasts, videos, especially ones with visuals, as one source noted, that really helps context, even the news in English.
So the more you hear it, the more it sinks in.
Right. And that constant exposure reinforces the patterns you might be picking up from, say, shadowing. You hear the language used naturally in different ways by different people. It solidifies everything.
So shadowing helps with the mechanics, the sound, and then exposure helps put it all in context.
You got it. It all works together.
What about actually, talking to people, conversation practice?
Crucial. Absolutely crucial. Getting involved in conversation clubs, even really informal ones, is great. It's a space to just try.
Less pressure than a formal class, maybe.
Often, yeah. The focus should just be on communicating, getting your message across.
Yeah.
Not on perfect grammar right from the start.
Okay.
The conversation guides we look at had some neat ideas too. Icebreakers, warm-ups, topic cards, anything to just get people talking and feeling
If
comfortable.
you're getting the words flowing.
Exactly. And speaking of practice, what about technology? I mentioned ChatGPT earlier. How can an AI help here?
Right. ChatGPT, it's basically a chatbot you can type to. How does that help with thinking in English?
Well, it can be a surprisingly useful tool. You can have conversations with it about specific things you're interested in. Ask it for vocab on that topic.
Oh, okay.
You could even use it to practice specific scenarios, like simulating a job interview in English. Ask it to generate dialogues for you to practice pronunciation or fluency.
And you could use text-to-speech to hear those dialogues for shadowing.
Exactly. Lots of potential. But, it's important to remember it's a tool. The quality depends on your prompts, and it's definitely not a replacement for real human interaction and feedback.
Good point. It's a supplement, not a substitute. Now, the big one, mistakes. People hate making them.
Oh, it's such a barrier. But all our sources hammer this home. Mistakes are normal. They're essential, actually.
Part of the process. Totally. Try to see them not as failures, but as chances to learn something new. Opportunities for discovery. Don't let that fear of judgment paralyze you. One article suggested reframing mistake as learning opportunity.
I like that. Takes the sting out of it.
It does, doesn't it? Another practical tip is recording yourself speaking.
Ooh, that sounds scary.
It can be a bit confronting at first, but it's incredibly useful for spotting things in your pronunciation or fluency that you just don't notice otherwise.
Right, things you need to work on.
Yeah. And remember, the main goal is communication, not perfection. Grammar's important, sure, but don't let fear of grammar errors stop you from actually speaking.
Be a motivated strategist, as one source put it.
Exactly. Develop your own approach, focus on using the language, and visualization helps too. Creating those mental images for words and phrases really aids memory.
So, lots of tools in the toolbox. Are there any common traps or specific errors learners often fall into that we should watch out for? Yeah, some sources, especially looking at learner discussions, pointed out recurring issues. Things like confusing similar words, effect, loose, that kind of thing.
Advice.
It's a classic one. Noun versus verb. Paying attention to those common mix-ups, plus basic verb forms and punctuation, can make a real difference.
Good to be aware of those specific points. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground. What's the one thread tying all this together?
I'd say consistency. It came up again and again.
Just keep doing it.
Yep. Regular daily practice, even short bursts, are better than one long session once a week. It's that consistent effort that builds and strengthens your mental model of English over time.
Makes it feel less like effort and more automatic.
Exactly. Until thinking in English starts to become your default.
Mm?
And, acknowledge the small wins.
Yeah.
That keeps you motivated.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. Thinking directly in English, it's a huge step towards fluency. It takes work, conscious effort for sure. But using strategies like shadowing, immersing yourself, self-talk, visual links, actual conversation, even AI tools, you can make that shift.
And remember, mistakes are totally okay. Part of the deal. Consistency is your best friend here.
Absolutely. So a great summary. And now for that final thought to leave you with.
You've talked about a whole bunch of techniques today. Maybe you think about picking just one or two that really clicked with you.
Yeah, something that feels manageable.
And commit to trying it out daily, just for the next week. What's one small English thinking habit you could start today?
And what difference do you really think it might make in your learning journey? Something to ponder.